Now, it's been nearly 2 months of deadlock in French politics after elections delivered a divided parliament. Today, President Macron is intensifying efforts to find a new prime minister, hosting two former presidents, Nicolas Sarkozy and Francois Hollande, for talks. He's also welcomed the former socialist prime minister, Bernard Cazeneuve, who some people have tipped as a candidate to fill this vacancy for PM. Well, our French politics editor, Marc Perelman, is across all the details. He's with me now. Marc, are we finally getting closer to a deal and to a name?
I think so, but I'm not sure because with Emmanuel Macron, it's always very difficult. Even when he appointed a prime minister having a majority, it took days and days and days of waiting because he really has to have his back against the wall to finally pull the trigger. And given the new political situation with no majority in parliament, it is even more difficult. But there's clearly, as you said, an intensification. At least this is what the Élysée Palace, the presidential palace, wants to convey, the idea that he is speaking with former president, former prime minister, former ministers, and probably people we don't hear about because this is the public appointments he has. He also has phone calls and probably private appointments because he realizes that, yes, there were the Olympic Games. Yes, there was the summer holiday break. But now the kids are going back to school. And he also has to fill the position of prime minister and then have a government because the clock is ticking 2 months since the election. And the budget vote, the key vote, is in October, in 1 month. And so without a government, it's impossible here in France to vote a budget. So clearly the clock is ticking. Emmanuel Macron has to find a solution, has to find a compromise. The problem for him, and he's been begging political parties to form coalitions, is that there's no coalition. The only existing coalition, the Nouveau Front Populaire on the left, has a very slim majority in parliament, but clearly not enough to be able to have a prime minister, despite their claims that they should have the choice of the president to become prime minister. Emmanuel Macron has said, no, we have to form a new coalition. So this is why he's trying to come up with a name. It should be this week.
Well, let's talk about the names then. Bernard Cazeneuve, I mentioned him. He's a name that's been floated, relatively well known in the sense that he was prime minister a while ago himself. There are, though, new rumours today of somebody who is really not in the political spotlight at all.
Right. First of all, Bernard Cazeneuve, he was prime minister for a short while. He was, for a longer time, interior minister, especially during the terrorist attacks in France under the mandate of the socialist president, Francois Hollande. He's more of a centrist. The problem he has is that the leftist coalition I just talked about will not support him because they consider he's a traitor and that if he's dealing with Emmanuel Macron, he's betraying them. So it might be difficult. Another name that's being banded and who met Emmanuel Macron is a former minister from the right this time, Xavier Bertrand, who heads the northern region of France. He's also said he's willing to be prime minister, but he also has the same problem. He doesn't have enough support in parliament. So a name that's come up today is Thierry Baudet, who's the head of the council, which is advising the government and the president. It's called the Economic, Social, and Environmental Council. It's not well known. It gives advices. It has people from the world of business, trade unions, associations, and they discuss policy issues, but without having really an input in what the government decides or not. So his name has come up as someone who would not be a member of all the political parties and could be seen as a compromise candidate. But there's no guarantee, as with the others, that he would be able to garner a majority because this is the problem. The trick is that, yes, you can appoint a prime minister, but if he doesn't get enough votes in parliament or if he faces a motion of no confidence immediately, well, you're back to square one with no prime minister. So Emmanuel Macron has to find a prime minister, has to find a majority and a solid one, and has to be able to pass a budget next month. So obviously, we're not out of the woods yet.
Marc Perelman, thank you.